In a fateful and daring mission against the backdrop of the American Civil War, 8 brave souls embarked on the H.L. Hunley's historic voyage, a journey that would forever intertwine their names within the pages of naval history. The Union blockade during the American Civil War was a naval strategy called the Anaconda Plan, employed by the Union to cut off the Confederacy from international trade and suppliers. The blockades began in April 1861, shortly after the Confederacy attacked Fort Sumter and the Civil War officially began. The Union Navy established a series of blockading squadrons along the Confederate coastline from the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. The primary goal was to prevent the Confederacy from exporting cotton and other goods, which would deprive them completely of their much-needed revenue, and to stop the import of arms, ammunitions, and other supplies. The blockade was aimed to weaken the Confederacy economically and militarily. Before the Hunley's historic feat, the Confederacy employed a range of innovative tactics to counter the Union blockade during the American Civil War. Blockade runners and torpedo warfare was used to cripple Union ships. Commerce raiders like the CSS Alabama ventured on daring voyages to disrupt Union shipping routes, undermining the effectiveness of the blockade. The introduction of ironclad warships like the CSS Atlanta and CSS Virginia challenged Union naval dominance. Collectively, these tactics demonstrated the Confederacy's determination to resist the blockade's impact on their war effort and maintain access to vital resources. Construction of the Hunley submarine has commenced in April 1863 at the Park and Lines machine shop in Mobile, Alabama. This remarkable vessel was constructed and designed under the supervision of James McClintock and Baxter Watson, and its funding was provided by Horace L. Hunley. Admiral Franklin Buchanan, the naval commandant of Mobile, watched as the Hunley dove under an anchored coal-hauling barge in the middle of the Mobile River. In a matter of minutes, the Hunley struck and sank the barge, successfully hitting its target. The Admiral Buchanan wrote to General P.G.T. Beauregard, officer in command of the Confederate forces in Charleston, South Carolina, saying, "I am fully satisfied the Hunley can be used in blowing up one or more of the enemy's ironclads in your harbor." The Hunley was then transported to Charleston by train on 2 rail cars. On August 12, 1863, the Hunley had arrived, and the crew wasted no time in conducting further tests. And on August 29th, the Hunley was then stationed at Fort Johnson in readiness for its inaugural assault on the blockade, when it unexpectedly submerged at the dock. There are several conflicting accounts to how the Hunley sank. Some say a wave from a passing boat, and some say mooring lines of another ship became tangled on the sub and pulled it on its side. Either way, the sub sank to the bottom of the river, and it took over 2 weeks for the sub to be retrieved. By the time they had already recovered the sub, Hunley was in Charleston ready to take possession of his sub once again. On October 15th, Hunley took over as captain of the vessel, and he, along with 7 other men from the Park and Lines machine shop in Mobile, would set out on a demonstration. The Hunley was supposed to dive underneath the CSS Indian Chief and resurface on the other side, but the Hunley would never resurface. Because of bad weather, the Hunley was not recovered until November 7th. Rescuers opened the hatch. They were horrified to find the entire crew was still in their original positions. Horace Hunley remained in the forward conning tower, clutching a candle. Rescuers had confirmed that the submarine had filled with water due to the open forward ballast tank valve. The H.L. Hunley has now experienced 2 catastrophes, and General Beauregard was ready to scrap the entire mission because, in his own words, it was more dangerous to those who use it than to the enemy. However, amidst these challenges, one man's determination would shine as a beacon of unwavering resolve. Lieutenant George E. Dixon, a remarkable and valiant Confederate officer with an extraordinary tale. Before the war, he had been presented with a gold $20 coin, given to him by his sweetheart as a token of protection. During the Battle of Shiloh, a fierce engagement in April 1862, Dixon found himself in the midst of a ferocious fight. A Union bullet would strike him in the upper thigh, but fate intervened. The gold coin, nestled in his trouser pocket, absorbed the impact and spared Dixon's life. Dixon carried this coin with him as a talisman of luck, a guardian against the perils of war. He had the following engraved on the coin: Shiloh, April 6th, 1862, my life preserver, and his initials, GED. Under the command of Lieutenant Dixon, the hand-cranked submarine and its crew prepared for a mission that would change naval warfare forever. They made modifications to the sub by attaching a 16-foot spar to the front and a Singer torpedo to the end of the spar. On a moonlit night in February 1864, the Hunley set out on its daring mission. Its target was the USS Housatonic, a Union warship blockading the harbor of Charleston, South Carolina. At approximately 8:45 p.m., a group of sailors stationed on the Housatonic's deck observed a peculiar object emerging from the water merely a few hundred feet away. They initially dismissed it as a possible porpoise surfacing for air. The situation swiftly escalated as the object drew near. The crew's apprehension turned into alarm as the true identity of the approaching entity became clear. It was not a marine creature, but the Hunley itself. Panic ensued, prompting the sailors to open fire in a desperate attempt to ward off the submarine. However, their bullets harmlessly ricocheted off the Hunley's impenetrable metal hull. Below the water's surface, the 16-foot spar torpedo was triggered, resulting in a deafening explosion that tore into the Housatonic's side. And in a matter of minutes, the vessel had succumbed to the ocean's depths, claiming the lives of 5 among its 155-member crew. Amidst the turmoil that had ensued after the explosion, onlookers both ashore and aboard the Housatonic reported glimpsing a blue light. The light was believed to be Dixon's signal to the shore, indicating the success of the mission. However, the Hunley would not be seen again, disappearing beneath the waves, taking its crew with it. Dixon and his men, who had achieved the unthinkable, tragically lost their lives in the process. For over a century, the Hunley's final resting place remained a mystery. After more than a century since its initial voyage, the world's pioneering combat submarine achieved a triumphant homecoming. The harbor brimmed with curious onlookers as spectators and journalists from across the globe gathered along the docks, eagerly witnessing the unfolding of a historic moment. With the Hunley safely recovered, the process of unraveling its mysteries could finally commence. The pioneering excavation of the submarine's crew compartment brought to light a treasure trove of artifacts. Among the relics was Lieutenant Dixon's gold coin that had saved his life at the Battle of Shiloh. It was found on his person. Resting undisturbed at their post, the remains of the entire 8-man crew were also discovered. Their serenity was preserved over time. Their solemn exit from the submarine marked the commencement of preparations for their long-awaited proper burial. And on April 17, 2004, a poignant chapter concluded as the submarine pioneers who manned the world's first inaugural successful combat submarine were laid to rest at Magnolia Cemetery in Charleston, alongside others that lost their lives on the H.L. Hunley. The story of the H.L. Hunley is one of bravery, innovation, and sacrifice. As we uncover the layers of history, we find that even amidst the chaos of war, there are stories that remind us of the human spirit's resilience and the extraordinary ways in which lives are intertwined with the flow of events. Having delved into the extraordinary saga of the Hunley, I invite you to take a step beyond the screen and immerse yourselves in history firsthand. Visit the Hunley and stand in the presence of the iconic vessel that shaped a pivotal chapter in naval warfare. The information of the museum is in the description. Thank you for joining us in this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, we cannot erase our history. We can only learn from it.